Hello. Welcome to Tarot Tuesday. Happy Tarot Tuesday, my friends. It's a crazy fucking week. You better put your big girl pants on because this is not the week for you to just sit around and idly let life pass you by. Because this week we're being called out on our bullshit. So welcome. I hope that you're as excited as I am about this. Tarot Tuesday has literally become probably my favorite day this whole week because I get to share this with you and share how it could really mutually benefit myself and you guys if we all really figure out what these cards mean each week and how we can implement them in our daily lives and be mindful of the choices we make and how sometimes it's good to have a little bit of foresight. And that's why we're here. Happy Tarot Tuesday. I'm going to tune in on here. If you guys have anything that you'd like to share about last week's card, which was the Queen of Swords, which I actually have right here, because our tarot card this week has a lot of resonance with this. I feel like there's a lot of similarities between this card and the card that we get this week, but I haven't yet told you what it is yet. I'm gonna tune in here real quick, and then we can get started. Hello. Cool. So, last week's card was the Queen of Swords. This was all about stepping into our truth, even when it might upset some people, being honest about how we really feel and completely owning our truth regardless of whether or not it might actually upset somebody else and may not be what somebody else wants to hear. Really being that voice of honesty even in very difficult situations and still being able to have the compassion. The Queen of Swords is the perfect balance of being logical, seeing things from a very logical perspective, but still having that compassion and empathy behind it to not be, you know, super, super cold. But she can sometimes lack a little bit of emotion, which is why some people can think, because she's more logical than anything. She really is. I think this week's card, there's a little bit more of the balance between the having that deep, deep, deep amount of compassion alongside the doing what is right. So, before we do the tarot card, I'm going to pull our angel card, which is just a lovely little message from one of our archangels. Last week we got Archangel Michael. And it's always fun to kind of do guided meditations in regards to the angels throughout the week, because that truly is the angel that is going to be assisting us this week and, you know, just kind of watching us be of service. And we can call upon this particular angel throughout the week to, you know, guide us when we're struggling. So it's an awesome thing to do. This week we also have Archangel Michael. Again, I can't remember what our card was last week, but this week we have the Page of Michael. So here we see this young teenager, pre-teenager boy, which represents the page, and he's flying a kite, actually. And right in the kite, I think there's like that symbol of Hades or something. I can't even remember what the heck it really is, but somewhere in that kite there's a symbol, and it kind of reminds me of either like that medical symbol that has like the snake and the... I can't remember what that thing is called, but I'm pretty sure I called it the right thing, right? And then next to him is this cute little owl. I'm seeing a lot of owl stuff lately. Right next to the little boy, and the skies are a little cloudy. There's actually snow upon the grass. And it says truthful, perception, analytical, and blunt, which is super, super, super hilarious, I think, because that really is a very clear description of last week's tarot card, and it's still kind of, I feel like, is resonating into this week. It's kind of bleeding over into this week a little bit, because it's literally truthfulness, perception, being analytical, and being very blunt, straight to the truth, which is what the Queen of Swords was all about. And it says, an exciting new challenge, you have what it takes to succeed, You need to review contracts or documents very thoroughly. Keep that in mind this week. Page of Michael. And then I'll read just a little bit more about it. And then we'll move on to the tarot card, okay? But this is super, super insightful for us. This week, an exciting new challenge is coming. Life is bringing you something unexpected. But don't worry. You truly do have what it takes to proceed successfully. Thank you. Your intellect and ability to discern the truth are the only tools that you will ever need. Do not hesitate to do research or ask for assistance from those with the right expertise. Business or legal contracts need a very thorough review. People. A student of life who is continually learning something new. Someone who relies on logic and reason to make his or her own decisions. They are truthful, balanced, insightful, sometimes unpredictable. Additional meaning of this card is communicating your plans, important documents, and a temporary delay. Okay, so I feel like this is super, super helpful to just have lingering in the back of your mind alongside this week's tarot card, because they go together very, 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 very well. Very well. Okay? With that being said, our tarot card of the week for this week is Justice reversed. Justice reversed. This is a major arcana card, and whenever there's a major arcana card, this means that the decisions that are made either this week or maybe one decision made during one day this week could potentially affect the overall outcome of your overall future. And your past too. Like, you could literally, there's an opportunity, it doesn't have to be a scary thing. There's an opportunity to, this is a karma card. Justice is all about the universal karma. Okay, so when it appears to us in reversed, right there it's telling us, okay, there's injustice somewhere. Somewhere there is injustice. Straight off the bat, that is usually what you know. Somewhere there is not a healthy or organic or symbiotic relationship going on here. Okay? So before we get into the craziness of our reading this week, we're actually going to kind of just go over the actual card itself. Justice reversed. Major Arcana card. It's a very, very powerful card. I don't think I've ever gotten this card upright myself, so getting it in reversed for the first time is kind of like, rip. But let's go into this. Either way, this is an air sign. Our last card last week was also an air sign, and it resembled Libra as well. Let's kind of look at how fucking similar these two cards are. These two badass ladies with swords in their hands. And I think the sword, yeah, they're both holding the swords in their right hand. And then their left hands, Justice is actually holding a balance symbol in her hand, whereas the Queen of Swords is in the process of like giving or receiving something. So that is a little bit of a difference. But overall, I think that these two women embody very, very similar energy with each other. So which is why I think last week's card is kind of bleeding into this week too, because last week was very intense for me. I don't know how we could just have a completely different week after that. And so it kind of makes a lot of sense for me. So we're still in that Libra energy. Libras are all about, they want to seek balance. They want to communicate things directly, and they want everybody to feel like they got their fair share. They want everyone to feel like they know there's no exclusion. This is the card of inclusion, 100%. There's fairness, but at the same time, there's also the compassion of everybody gets what they need so that everybody's happy, and there's nothing, you know, Because if one little thing is off, it throws everything off. That's the energy of this. And I guess it's the number 11. The number 11. And if it's a yes or no question that is asked throughout this week that you're wondering, the answer to your question is maybe. Perhaps. Isn't that funny? I feel like anything involving Libra, the answer is maybe. Because they're a little indecisive sometimes. It's ruled by the planet of Venus, which is the perfect planet to rule if you're in this kind of position of somebody who, you know, you're making very, very important decisions for people's lives. You know, you are in the line of trying to figure out what is the truth, getting to the bottom of the truth, and making decisions from that and that only. Everything else is just a bunch of drama and stuff that gets you confused about what really matters. The truth is what matters, deep down at the core, and that's what Lady Justice is all about, getting to the core of matters and leaving all of the blurry gunk out of it. She's a queen at this. So, let's get into the illustrations of this. Thank you for the tears. Look at my beautiful doggy. Let's look at this. Look at this beautiful queen. We see her, she's sitting between these two pillars. She's sitting down, as you can see. And these pillars represent law, universal law, having structure and balance. She's similar to the Hierophant and the High Priestess, I guess. She has some kind of correlations between the characters in those two cards. Behind her you can see it looks like red for some reason coming up on the camera, but it has a little bit more of like a purple hue to it, actually, in real life. And it's hung like very loosely behind her. You can see it. It's kind of like, I think it's a representation of behind everything, she is a very compassionate person, and she really does make decisions from that compassionate space. It's not a judgmental, like, oh, you know, picking favorites type of thing. She makes all of her decisions from the core of compassion, which is why she's so successful. She's dressed in very royal attire, like she's got like this expensive crown on the top of her head, and there's actually like a blue square in the middle of her crown, which represents her like well-ordered thoughts. Like everything in her mind is very organized, and there's not any room for thoughts or beliefs that aren't serving her in any way. Like they just aren't there. Everything is very orderly and has its place, and it's serving her. Amazing. Her red cloak and her green mantle shows, obviously, she has like a lot of passion for what she does. It's very, very bright and vibrant, and she's in her purpose, and she feels excited to show up every day and, you know, fight for the truth and wear her robe and look at herself in the mirror and, you know, be excited to know that she's fighting for everything that is right and what is true and what is real. And authority as well. There's a lot of authority in this card, which I'm going to discuss a little bit more later, but after we get into the visuals of it. So her right hand is holding the double-edged sword, as you can see, and it's straight up, just like how it was with last week's card. The sword is just sticking straight up, which shows that her priorities are going in one clear direction. And it's in her right hand, which is all about her logic, you know, her being in your serious mental space, thinking very, very clearly with your thoughts. But then her left hand has the symbol of the balance, like the balance between the two. But if you're actually looking at them, they're somewhat, you can't see it really, really well, but they actually are a little bit tilted. But I think that kind of represents the continual need to, you know, always be shifting in order to create that balance. It's not always going to be balanced. You have to be in tune with the current shifts and ebbs and flows of the energy going on inside of you if you want to maintain that balance. It's not something you can just, like, you know, do it one time and then think you're good forever. And her left side, the left hand, symbolizes our intuition and our compassion, our ability to be able to see, you know, beyond what is just black and white thinking. It's our feelings and getting into the compassion of it. And other than that, you can't really see it too well, but she's got a white shoe on, and it's peeking out of her robe. Peeking out of there. It's a reminder of the spiritual consequences of all of her actions. All of them. This is the karma card. With that being said, we got this card in reversed, which means this week we might be getting to experience the negative consequences of any of the bad karma we've accumulated, either in this lifetime, in past lifetimes, or maybe just something that we did a week or two ago that we're like, oh fuck, I kind of knew that that wasn't really morally right for me to do that, but you know, I was either being lazy or I didn't want to do certain work, you know, you just did something that in the moment you were kind of like, I probably shouldn't have done that, but whatever, right? I'm sure it'll be fine, and the next thing you know, you feel like you're cursed. So, this is the joy of Lady Justice, here to always remind us that every single thing that we think and do, and every action we take, the energy that is behind that action and the energy behind all of those thoughts, that's what you're basically telling the universe you would like more of, regardless of what that may be. So if you're sitting there complaining or this is the energy of this card. I'm just going to tell you the key words for this, okay? Because there's so much that goes into it. The key words that we may be experiencing throughout this week, or maybe you have been experiencing, this is completely calling me out. I feel so called out by this card this week. It's not even funny. Unfairness. Feeling like you have been treated unfairly by life or by somebody else or some authoritative figure. Feeling like, you know, you want to be a kid and you're just like, that's not fair. And you're just in your mood and you're just like a bratty little kid who, you know, thinks that they just deserve everything. And it should just come to them. Like, they shouldn't have to do anything. I don't want to have to focus positively to get something I want. I just want it to show up at my doorstep one day, you know? I don't want to do the work. That's fair. I see that this person has all of these things, and why don't I? It's being in that victim space and feeling like the world is just punishing you for no reason. Having a lack of accountability, so that goes along with that. It's refusing to actually see the reality that is, you're where you are because of who you've allowed yourself to become. Your circumstances are a reflection of who you are becoming, and just a reflection of who that person is that you are becoming, which is a very hard pill to swallow when you wake up one day and you decide that you are absolutely not happy with the way that your life has turned out. And that is the red pill of Lady Justice. She's here to slap you in the face and tell you you are the only person to blame for the circumstances of your current life situation. Yay, right? What do you do with that? Okay, another thing with this is feeling like you are being dishonest or someone else is being dishonest towards you. So this could be, I don't really feel like that's the overall theme of this week. I feel like this is more targeted towards ourselves, but this could be someone else's experience where they're actually experiencing this from another person outside of them. Someone else is trying to be very dishonest and unfair to them, and they're being really sneaky about it, and they're obviously someone who's making it very obvious that they're trying their best to not take accountability for something. And you need them to, because you guys, have made an agreement with each other. And that's where there might be some injustice going around, where someone is not agreeing or doing the things that they agreed to you that they would be doing. Fun, right? Corruption. There might be experiencing spiritual retributions to your actions. Avoiding responsibility. Karma. And suffering from the victim mentality. So that is the overall vibe, is the key words for justice reversed. It's some heavy shit. It's some heavy shit. And then I think right now is a good time to look back at our angel card as well, to see how well these two, our angels, are always trying to give us these messages in the most gentle way for us to be able to receive them and not be super defensive about it. So when we really look at these cards, as far as the angel card, it says an exciting new challenge. You have what it takes to succeed, but you need to review the documents and contracts very, 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 very thoroughly. So this is a time to get very internal. Figure out what it is that matters to you the most, so that you can make decisions straight off of that, and everything else is just a bunch of mumbo jumbo that doesn't really matter to you at the end of the day. And if you are tied into any kind of legal stuff, very, 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 very important to look at the fine print of everything. Like, look at the stuff that you're signing before you just sign your life away. You got to look at everything before you agree to anything this week. Or if you already find yourself enmeshed in some kind of legal thing going on, expect it to be probably have a lot of turmoil depending on who you're up against. This is not a good card to get if you have any kind of like court stuff going on this week. Chances are that things might not go very well in your favor. But you can always do the best. I mean, regardless of the situation, you are in control of your own reaction, which is your greatest power. With that, that's what this whole week is really. It's not trying to scare us. This card is not trying to be like, oh, your whole life's fucked up and it's your fault and there's nothing you can do about it. No, it's the exact opposite, actually. This card is reminding us perhaps that maybe there's something that we did recently that we don't feel right about. Where there's kind of like a sense of, oh crap, I did this thing. Even it could be as simple as like, I littered. I know I should have thrown that little piece of candy away after it fell out of my car or whatever, and I made the decision. I could have picked it up and I chose not to anyway. So if you feel that way, if it's something as simple and minute as that, you can really change the law of karma by just doing something that in your heart feels like a appropriate transaction from that. So maybe the next time you see some random big piece of trash that didn't even belong to you, you can be like, hey, this time I'm going to make up for when I didn't do that, and I'm going to deliberately go out of my way to find this random piece of trash that didn't even belong to me, and I'm going to throw it away. Something as simple as that. You can do that with just about anything that you feel like, okay, there's injustice going on here, and it's my doing to bring the justice back. When it's in your hands, that's a wonderful feeling, because you are in control of that, and you can do it whenever you decide to swallow your pride and do it. So that's just something to be mindful of this week. Little tiny things. Karma builds up. Little tiny things, they don't seem to matter in the present moment, but they come back to bite you. I promise. You'll see. Another thing to look out for this week is you might have already made a mistake that is only visible to you, and nobody else around you is really aware of it. And you may find yourself in the position where that very uncomfortable mental space where you're like, do I tell people before they even know, so that if they do end up finding out, I don't have to, face the uncomfortableness of all of that, because I already said, hey, I brought it up to the front. I was the responsible one, and I knew there was something wrong, and it could have been hazardous to myself or others if I didn't say anything. And so I'm going to be the big person and bring it up, even though maybe if I never said anything, nobody would have even found out about it anyway. But what if they did find out? And they found out that you deliberately didn't say anything on purpose. It shows where your intentions lie. It shows that you are more concerned with saving your own face than the safety of yourself and the people around you. And that's not somebody that you, I'm sure, would really want to put your safety in. So it's time to be very mindful. Have that Libra energy of how does this affect all the other people around me, not just myself. It's hard to be in that position where you're like, okay, I've made a mistake. And it could be a really, really big mistake. And being honest about it is probably one of the fucking most uncomfortable experiences in human life, admitting to when you did fuck something up. But it's when you do that you can actually like learn from that experience and have that humility, and you feel so much better doing that rather than, the weeks and months of distress of being like, oh God, are they going to find out? Are they going to find out? Are they going to find out? Like, no, you don't want to put yourself through that emotional dis-ease. You're going to cause dis-ease in your body. We don't have the energy for that anymore this week. So it is a time to be upfront and honest this week, if the time presents itself. Another thing to look out for this week is if you find yourself blaming other people and finding yourself unwilling to look into your own ego. So what happens when we blame other people for our life circumstances, or even blaming other people for the way that we feel? We think that to a certain degree it gives us a sense of security back, because it helps us believe that I would have never created this life for myself. Like, if I actually had control of my physical reality, this would be the last thing I would create for myself. Therefore, I have to convince myself that I am not in control of anything at all, and life is just throwing shit at me all the time, and nothing is predictable. Everything just, comes at you, and you just gotta fucking find some way to cope. Some people really believe that is what life is, and you can tell because they're like chickens with their head cut off. They truly, truly believe all this crap keeps coming at them, and they don't know what to do with it, and they just blame other people. They're like, oh, this person, they made me mad. This person said something that upset me, or this person did this to me, and now, I'm having this huge emotional reaction. It's been a year and 6 months, but, the wound is still fresh. So, this is one of the hardest ones, because taking responsibility is hard to do sometimes. It's much easier to blame other people, because then you put all of the responsibility off yourself. So, when you blame others, notice how when you do that, how disempowering that actually feels. Deep, deep, deep down. And how beautiful it would feel to never have to blame other people. Not even have like the mental space to really think about how circumstances happened because of other people, or you feel a certain way because someone said something to you that triggered you. Imagine living a life where you can go anywhere, you can be around anybody, no external circumstance can really change what's going on internally inside of you, because you know you are a deliberate creator, and you don't allow tiny little knee-jerk reaction things to ruffle the feathers in your heart. That sounded really, really gross. I meant to say something like the disrupt the sea in your heart. The ocean. That's better. What the fuck? So, Oh, along with that, looking at your ego. That's another karmic lesson that's very hard for a lot of people to grasp is, yes, indeed, every single situation, every single human being that just seems to randomly manifest into the world to just become a part of your life is simply there to mirror an aspect of yourself that either you are unconsciously aware that you embody the qualities of this person who may trigger you or upset you or annoy you. They're there to teach you. They're your greatest teachers. You usually think that you just need them to go away and like shoot them off onto another planet so that you can never see them again. But in the reality of it, the things that irk us the most are the things that our ego has attachments to. Things in ourselves that, you know, if we didn't have any kind of association with it, then we wouldn't feel anything about it. When something triggers you, it reminds you of something similar going on inside of you. Very, very hard. And that's why this is a major arcana card, because this is a master lesson card. It usually takes people about 30, 40, 50 years to finally actually understand the beauty of this card and the full circleness of this card and how it's life working for you, not just happening to you, if that makes sense. Another thing about this card in reversed is it's finally time to free yourself of guilt and shame. When this card happens to be in reverse, maybe there's a lot of judgment that we are experiencing towards ourselves. There's not a lot of self-love going on. Maybe we're being very harsh and rude to ourselves. And Justice, Libra, you know, it's all about love. You have to have the love for yourself in order to be able to embody it and share it with others. Your mind is so powerful. Like, think about how her sword can literally cut through realities and dimensions just by deliberately choosing a specific thought and really believing in it. It changes all of her reality just by thinking different things, choosing her thoughts and behaviors and actions deliberately. Whew! Very, very intense to do, so make sure you're prepared for that kind of work. And in observing your inner critic, this card is kind of encouraging us to learn how to become our biggest cheerleaders, too. I feel like having justice for yourself. When you have that self-love and you have the boundaries and the ability to know your worth. This card is really all about really understanding universal law and how in order to have something you first have to believe that you deserve it, and 2, allow yourself to embody having it before it even manifests. Really create the feeling inside of yourself of what it would feel like to have whatever it is you want, whether it's an emotion or a physical experience or a physical object. That is how we create. To create it, you have to, build the components and build the momentum, or else it's not there, right? It starts in the mind first. And so when we are critical of ourselves, it's basically the same thing as like just putting poison on your garden that you're trying to grow. Every single criticism that you give yourself is you're planting it into the soil of your ever fertile mind. And it's crazy to see what happens when you stop putting poison in the soil and you actually start giving it nice little seed food. Seed food? Yeah. Give it a try. Watch out for biased info with important decisions. Lady Justice is in a very, very powerful position. She could end a man's life with just one decision, you know? But that's really his decision, isn't it? It's so funny how that works. It's a good reminder if you find yourself in your leadership position. Obviously, you have a lot of power. We all have a lot of power. Our own, even if you're not in a leadership position, you are the leader of yourself, okay? So, anytime you're getting into any kind of conversation with somebody or any kind of debate or any kind of intellectual conversation with somebody, thank you for the follow. Being biased is obviously not having your intentions be in the space of truth. That means that your information is skewed, it's cherry-picked, or you're only really believing in the parts that sound really good to you, or you're only believing the parts that, you know, help a certain narrative. In your case, it's not being realistic. It's not taking reality and seeing it for what it is. It's being like, oh, I can accept some things and then I can just leave out other things. And that is biased information. It's not the whole truth. You don't go very far without the full truth. Legal complications and unfair outcomes. That is kind of like the last theme to watch out for this week generally. So overall, it was, if you've done something that you know isn't morally right, do whatever you know that you can that feels right in your heart that will make things in balance again. It could be anything. First thing that comes to your mind, it could be a very intuitive thing. Go with your gut. You know how to make things right for yourself. You'll feel that inner balance restore again. Try not to blame other people. Really look into yourself this week. See, the next time you get annoyed by something or someone, you can be like, okay, what is it about this annoying ass person? And how is it that I myself actually embody this quality? And once you do become aware of that, that is when you can shift it. And then the person outside of you will stop embodying those annoying qualities that you no longer want to see because you changed yourself. Right? Yeah, freeing yourself from the guilt, observing your own inner critic, learning to become your own inner cheerleader. And if you're experiencing any legal complications or unfair outcomes, do the best you can. Just remain in your truth. Unfortunately, regardless of whether you are being honest or not, this week you might not have the best legal outcome because we just happen to be in reverse. But the best that you can do is just honor your truth and show up in your truth. All right? So, in your love life, if this affects your love life this week and you're coupled, this could mean that you or your loved one has been caught up in deception. You figured out that someone has been lying to you, or maybe you've been lying to your partner and you haven't really brought anything to the forefront yet, but you know that you've been very dishonest with them. It's very uncomfortable energy, isn't it? If you've been cheating as well, or lying about cheating, those are two things. Maybe they're doing that, maybe you're doing that. If so, either way, expect some arguments to arise this week. If certain things have been exposed or someone's just getting that gut feeling that something quite isn't right going on in their relationship, expect to maybe experience the consequences of your actions that you've been taking these past weeks or months, maybe even. if nothing crazy like that is going on, maybe someone might just be feeling like they're being mistreated in the relationship, or they don't feel like there's been an equal amount of compassion or respect or, you know, quality time. There can be somewhere somebody feels like they're not getting their needs met somewhere. They need a little bit more of something, or maybe feel like they're getting too much of something. There's a little bit of imbalance, and so you guys need to come together and have a very honest conversation about how you feel, even if it can be like, you know, if you sit down and you're like, you know, I don't feel like you give me enough attention lately, and they're just kind of like, oh my god. Just be honest. You have to be honest, even if it sounds a little ridiculous. You got to be honest about how you feel, because it's a reality for you, and if they discredit it and don't see it as valid, that right there is kind of a big indication that they don't really seem to have your best interest in mind. Because if they really, really, really did, they would care so much more about just resolving the issue. Truth, right? Okay, so it's a good time to just examine your role in your relationship, seeing if there's certain things that you don't really feel obligated to do, or you feel like you got put into unwillingly. Seeing if there was anything in your relationship dynamic that you kind of just fell into because you didn't deliberately say, hey, I want to do this. You're like, oh, all of a sudden I just got stuck with doing all of the chores, you know, type of thing, and you don't really feel like there's a very good balance between your guys' jobs maybe together. Something like that. Honestly, it could be, the possibilities are endless. Maybe you guys just fucked somebody on accident or on purpose, and you're like, oops. Either way, you reap what you sow, and the truth always comes out, and you got to deal with the consequences. So look forward to that. Observe any feelings of blame and judgment in your relationship as well. Do you feel like whenever things aren't going well, or if there's a disturbance in you, you automatically turn to your partner and you're like, oh, it's your fault. You're responsible for making me happy, and I'm not happy right now, so what am I supposed to do? I've placed all my happiness in your hands, and you're not dropping everything for me. What the heck? That's not how relationships work. You are never supposed to put your happiness in the hands of somebody else, or blame or judge them for maybe sometimes, you know, not putting themselves first in certain circumstances, because they have boundaries and they are not willing to sacrifice their own well-being to accommodate your manipulative needs. Okay, so it's a good time to observe that in yourself. When do you automatically, it's an easy thing to do when you're in a relationship, because they're the closest person to you. So you're like, oh, if this person is bothering me, you know? It's your fault. It's so easy to go straight into that blame. But the only person to blame is yourself, actually. I know, a hard pill to swallow. But if you're single, you may think you're ready for a relationship, but you're still currently learning from the past lessons and mistakes that you have made. And in order for you to move forward, you're going to have to learn from those, or else if you do go out and try to connect with other people, you will be repeating the exact same mistakes and attracting the same kind of people that you have been attracting. No, thank you. Whew! Have you had a lack of balance in your past relationships? Perhaps this is what's missing. Don't lose your sense of self. This is something that a lot of people, I think, struggle with, especially if you're a Libra. This is total Libra energy. I think they get into a relationship and they just completely become the sole. It's the same thing of, I want you to put your happiness in my hands. I'll do everything for you. Forget about me. I'm just going to stop eating. I'm just going to stop taking care of myself and showering, because my whole life is just dedicated to you now. I just want to take care of you. And forget about me. Like, who needs self-care? Right? It's that energy of completely losing yourself in a relationship. Forgetting that you even have a sense of self, because you've just dedicated your whole life to the needs of somebody else, which is not what we're here to do at all. We are here to co-create, not have some kind of parasitic relationship. Nah, bro. So, have a healthy space between you and the people who you're in a relationship with, whether that be your family or other people around you. Develop that strong sense of self and what you will and will not allow other people to do. When you come into an agreement with somebody, connections and relationships are all about you knowing who you are and them knowing about who they are, so that you guys can actually like create something together that's worthwhile and not destroy each other. If you can imagine that. It's also a good idea to have a healthy balance between your love life and your career life and your independent life, not have them all enmeshed together, which can be kind of hard for some of us. I know it's something I should probably work on myself, but I have a hard time. And if you've treated someone poorly, anybody, whether that be an ex or an ex-best friend or a current best friend, a loved one, a family member, if you truly feel like you have wronged somebody, no matter how long ago it was or how recent it was, right now you may be experiencing, the karma effects of that. Maybe you've met someone who has treated you how you treated somebody else in the past. Or you may just be feeling like super, super overwhelmingly guilty about it now. All of a sudden you're like, okay, I feel like I have to make this right again. If so, do it. Now is your time. Career and work. You may be feeling like you're being treated poorly in the workplace, and you're being blamed for other people's mistakes. Or you're in the position where you in the workplace are blaming other people for your mistakes and just kind of hoping that... Either way, it can go in both positions. Either way, it's uncomfortable. Or you feel like you're being sabotaged. Not fun. Feeling like somebody out there is deliberately trying to destroy your own creations. Something that you're working super hard, someone is actually going out of their way to watch you fall. Very, very horrible feeling, right? You may be lacking the integrity in the workplace, so you may not have the best attitude around there, and it's making people not respect you as much, because it's a reflection of who you respect and what do you respect. Do you respect your workplace and the people you work with? If so, then you can be honest with them and be direct with them and actually have a relationship, a connection with them, and not, when things seem to go wrong, just start pointing fingers and being like, oh, well, that's your fault, and not take responsibility for any of your mistakes and problems. That's how you make no friends in beauty school. That's how I know. Avoid any risky investments. Things might come back to bite you in the future. Gambling is obviously not encouraged during this week. Having any big financial deals or agreements with somebody should probably be held off for next week, hopefully, because you might not realize it now, but you could be making agreements with someone who's not very trustworthy. In health, this could mean that there's a lack of balance, which could be leading to a various amount of health issues. Overindulgence is kind of something to look out for this week too. Doing too much. I feel like too much or too little, honestly, is the key theme for something being not injustice. Overindulgence, yeah. Too much or too little of something. Really, this is an introspective card. Whenever this comes up in reverse, this is basically just telling us If you're feeling like you don't like your life, you don't like the things that are being presented to you, accept that this is where you've put yourself. Accept that this is the reality based off of, this is kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit too, which is perfect because it's almost at the end of this. Spirituality. First, we're going to go into the spirituality of this, and then I'll go on to my spiel. The universe is sending you a message and a lesson. You may be choosing to avoid them, but that's okay because they will only get bigger. They will not go away. It is a time to connect to your higher self. Justice reversed comes to us when something that we are doing in our lives is just simply not getting us in the direction of where it knows that we want to go. It's this beautiful card that's letting you know straight up that, hey, I see you. I see you sitting there asking me all the time, asking the universe, asking God, why me? Why is this happening to me? This is torture. I don't enjoy this. This is so mean. Like, why does the universe hate me? And this is the universe responding back to you saying, I don't hate you, but if hate is the only thing that you're giving me, that's the only thing I can boomerang back to you, bitch. So, Lady Justice likes to give us that bitch slap of reminding us that, yes, indeed, you are the creator of your own reality. And any thought you have, any action you take that is not in the center of your higher self is most likely not going to be serving you or actually getting you where you want to go. And I know I made this title something about the I think about the stupid Johnny Depp trial, because I feel like this, I don't know, something about this when I got this card, there's a lot going on with that trial, and this card is here reminding us that there will be a lot of distractions. There are a lot of manipulative external sources outside of you that are going to put pressure on you to make a certain decision that they want you to make. Yes, I'm talking about the Matrix. Do you realize how the Johnny Depp case is like being basically like shoved in the faces of everyone on the media? It's everywhere. It's like basically being completely advertised to you. And you want to know why? This is something that I've learned so much throughout these just past 2 weeks. Every single thing that is not actually helping you become your greatest version is just completely distracting you from your purpose of being here. If you give your time to the Johnny Depp trial or anything associated with drama, anything that really has nothing to fucking do with you, you're choosing something, some kind of form of entertainment to idly distract you from living your life. And it makes it easy to blame other people for that too. When you look back in your life and you're like, oh, nothing is what I wanted. Well, you spent too much time sitting on the couch watching this stupid Johnny Depp trial when it really, the outcome of it had nothing to do with you. But you gave so much of your time and energy to it. Why? Why? Justice is here to tell us why. Why is it that you give so much energy and time into the things that hurt you, that make you feel bad about yourself, that make you feel sick, that make you believe that you are not in control of your life and your reality? We really have to, in order to be able to have new beliefs, we have to look at the ones that we currently have right in the face and accept them and see them for what they really are and get to know them so that we can shift them. But that's the only way. We have to become conscious of our current beliefs so that we can deprogram ourselves and then reprogram our mind. Right? So, I feel like Justice Reversed is telling us it's time to reprogram. your belief systems, your belief about yourself, your belief about the world. I feel like justice itself also kind of represents our relationships that we have to our first authority figure. This is a very interesting thing. I actually listened to a Teal Swan video today where she said something that kind of blew my mind, and it went along with this because this is a very authoritative, like I think of her as like a motherly or fatherly figure, and they're so wise and they always do what's right, and you come to them when you know you want the honest truth of something, the truth of the matter, like give it to me straight. She's going to be a complete reflection of whatever you give back to her. There's no biased or picking favorites. She's going to give you whatever you give her back. And Teal Swan said in a video that our relationship to our parents is kind of our first real relationship to the universe. So however we cognitively associated our relationship to our authoritative figures, that's kind of the subconscious relationship that we have with the universe, actually. So if you had a very absent authoritative figure in your life, subconsciously you might not even know it, but you might have a belief deep down that the universe actually isn't here to provide you with everything you could possibly ever ask for. The universe is very absent. When you're in the most time of need, the universe isn't there for you. Or just something like for me, okay, I realized with that I have a very, my relationship to the universe could be very much like I have to fight it. I have to fight for my position, or else everything is going to get taken away from me, which is the exact opposite way of how the universe really works. The universe is just responding to you, responding to your vibrations. So whatever you're giving the universe, it's just going to reflect that same thing back to you. And it's a beautiful thing when you really get to when you understand the universal perspective of it and how perfect that is. Like, there's no other way that this reality could really work for human beings to ever learn about themselves or expand. If it worked in any other way, that's the only way that we'd be able to have awareness for ourselves. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to look into ourselves. It's not always the most delightful because, you're realizing that, oh yeah, I don't feel like I'm worthy of certain things. And that's another thing with this card. When it's in reverse, you're pinching yourself off from your abundance, obviously. When something's off from keeping you from where you need to be and your source perspective, you're pinching yourself off. And whenever that happens, a lot of stuff happens. For one thing, your body can't survive in that state healthfully for very long. You begin to develop a lot of dis-ease in your body, and then disease. Haha, which is just another physical reflection of the emotional turmoil going on inside of you. So the best thing that I really think that I could offer advice for this week is to observe your relationship to your first authority figures, because you can really, our parents were like gods to us. When you're a child, you're the first person who brings you into the earth. You just think they're like these omnipresent beings who just know everything. And they give you everything, usually, if they're actual providers, they provide you with everything that you need to survive. So, however that person interacted with you during the most pivotal moments of your childhood development, that's just how your brain is going to automatically assume that that's how the entire world around you operates. Does that make sense? So, really get clear about that this week. This week is a time for us to ask, okay, what is my relationship to the universe? What is my relationship to the mirror? It's a very interesting, this week is super, super weird. I feel like it's a time for us to really dedicate ourselves to meditation once again. Last week was kind of a little bit about that too, but right now it's an introspective week. Justice Reversed is asking you to know thyself. The worst thing you can do this week is to continue to watch the Johnny Depp trials and watch the news. You know, continue to do things that are just lowering your vibration and not even bringing any awareness to yourself, because all of the crap going on outside of you that seems to be the stuff you should be focusing on, because, you know, all the world wars and the mass shootings and the distractions, it's all a reflection of the internal war going on inside yourself. And the only way that you'll ever really comprehend that and understand that is if you take a chance to see what it's like to completely deprogram a core belief that you've had for so long. You deactivate it purposefully, and you start activating the exact opposite belief in a more empowered state. You just open your eyes one day and the people all around you, external events around you, are not responding to you the same way. Simply because you yourself are embodying a different energy. They just bounce right off of you. It's a very empowering state, and that's what justice embodies. So this week, we're really just working on going from here to here. We're going to try to make this card upright this week by bringing justice to injustice, which is easier said than done. I know we have to maybe swallow our pride a little bit and do some things that are a little bit uncomfortable, maybe sit with ourselves and come to terms with a lot of hard truths about ourselves, and finally stop playing the blame game. It feels good at first because, you know, it's easier to just be like, oh, this is your fault, instead of being like, you know what, actually this is my doing. But taking the responsibility is where we actually get to experience true personal power. And with that, nothing can harm you. There was this quote that I heard today that I really liked, and it really struck a chord with me, because it really to me felt like the difference between justice upright and justice up when it's reversed. Close your eyes and think about a bird, a baby bird, and he knows how to fly, and he just jumps from branch to branch on each tree, and he's just going. He's going really fast, almost to the point where you don't really feel like he's even really paying too close attention as to whether he's firmly grasping his feet on each branch, you know, or if the branch itself looks stable enough to hold his weight, right? He's just going and going and going, and he's just got this momentum going on. And the reason why he's not too afraid as to why the branch will or will not catch him, he doesn't care about the external circumstances, because he knows, the little smart bird knows, that if a branch does happen to just snap off, he can fly. He has the inner power in himself to be able to control that situation, even if things kind of go haywire. If the branch breaks, he still has himself. And I think that is the difference between having justice and being in your truth than just hoping and relying on external circumstances to always be sturdy enough for you to just prance around without being in alignment and, you know, accompanying your soul. So, that's that. Those are the tarot cards of this week. Very important, very karmic. Meditate. Next week, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my morning sadhana practice, which is the meditation that I should be doing every single day. I think I'm going to actually try to start waking up even earlier so that I can really incorporate this sadhana practice and have a good hour or two to myself to really immerse myself in this practice. So I'd love to be able to share with you guys that practice, because it really does help me get into that clear mind space. So I'm going to be sharing that with you next week. But this week, keep in mind, justice reversed. It's time to start taking responsibility for your life. Stop blaming other people. Whenever you find yourself getting into that cycle of just observing someone else and complaining about them and being like, oh my God, they always do this always happens to me, catch yourself in that repetitive, you have this dialogue that you just repeat. Whenever something triggers, it just seems to automatically start happening, and you go on and on and on and on about, oh my God, this happened 10 other times, it happens the same time every single day, Catch yourself in that narrative. And when you catch yourself, become hyper aware of how it is exactly this dialogue that you keep regurgitating as to why your circumstances are not changing. That should shut you up, at least for another 5 minutes until something else comes along. But that's the joy of meditation, is catching yourself in those moments where you're like, oh my God, my mind is going off on a fucking insane gyrave. Like, it's crazy to catch yourself in certain times and really questioning your beliefs instead of completely identifying with them. That's what justice really does too. She takes all of these crazy thoughts going on in her head and she's like, okay. Are any of these thoughts actually even true? Or do I just keep telling myself this? She's a catalyst for positive change. And even though this is a super, super, super powerful and probably very painful card, because we're coming to terms with a lot of hard truths about ourselves, it's so, so, so necessary. And once you do have this, the future looks so, so, so bright. And you get excited about the future rather than just dreading it. So I hope you take the chance this week to prove that there is a little inner justice within you. I know I'll be doing it. And I hope you join me. So if you enjoyed this week's Tarot Tuesday, I enjoyed it a lot. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a very it's a karmic card. There's a lot of karma in this, but it's good for us. So thank you for watching. I'd love to hear if you're on my YouTube channel and this resonated with you. I would love to hear it in the comment section, how maybe certain situations in your life are resonant to this. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. If not, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you didn't, that's okay too. I'll see you on the flip. I might be doing tarot card readings later tonight if I don't really have anything else going on. So if you'd like to have a blunt reading, then we can do that. Cool? Alright. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. I will. Remember, stop blaming other people for your shitty life. It's your fault. Just kidding. It is though. But that's a good thing. You can change it. Love you. Bye.